where people came, they talk about there is no God. How can you say there is no God? And you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his grace and mercy. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Woo! Thank God. I can see. Yes. It was because of grace and mercy. Thank God. Rescue me. Woo! Thank you, Jesus. Brought me through. I'm living this moment. I'm living this moment because of you. I wanna thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Praise you, Jesus. Your grace, your grace, your grace brought me through. Hallelujah. Thank you for your grace and mercy today. Amen. Without that, I wouldn't be here. Ooh, thank you, Jesus. Ooh.
Thank you, Lord.
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
Glory, glory.
Even the sinners, they don't even understand
Yes.
that it's because of his grace and mercy.
Yes.
His grace. His
Yes.
grace.
The atheists don't understand it's because of his grace and mercy.
Yes.
Woo! Thank you, Jesus.
That's why I'm here.
Woo! Thank you, Lord.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Grace and mercy. Woo!
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Your grace
Yes,
and
Lord.
your mercy brought me through, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
Brought me
Woo!
through.
Yes, yes.
Hallelujah.
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 Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Jesus.
Woo, I'm trying to act like I got sense this morning.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you. Glory.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Lord.
Lord.
Woo.
Yes,
Thank you, Jesus.
thank you.
I just want to first start off by wishing everybody a happy new year. I know it's late, but this is the first time that I've been before you since the year started.
Hallelujah.
And we have rolled over into a new year.
Amen.
And while we may not be where we want to be, we can at least thank God for waking us up into 2019.
Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
We want to first give honor to God, who is the head of my life. I want to give recognition to my earthly and spiritual father, Bishop Dr. David Rhodes,
Amen.
to Pastor Rhodes, Pastor Philip Rhodes, Pastor Ann Rhodes in her absence, to Pastor Bell in his absence, and the shepherd of this house, Pastor David Rhodes, and you, my brothers and sisters in Christ.
Amen.
Today we're going to come from 1 Peter 5 and 8. 1 Peter 5 and 8. You know I'm not going to be before you long. There's been some things that I've been looking at and seeing, and it's just been disturbing my soul. 1 Peter 5 and 8. And if you're able to stand, stand once you've found it. 1 Peter's in the New Testament. I didn't bring my Bible, so I can't tell you what it is after Timothy, before Revelation. I know y'all struggling over there, you know. I should have gave y'all more time.
In the back of the Bible.
That's it. The line is so messed up.
1 Peter 5 and 8, and it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour.
Mm-hmm.
And my subject for this morning, are you woke? Are you woke? For about the last 6 weeks or so, I've been getting a lot of messages popping up on my YouTube app. And, you know, YouTube is interesting to me. It's an interesting concept. What it does is it allows a voice for people who before had no voice, and some who should never have a voice. It is a platform that allows everybody and anybody to talk about anything. You see people on there discussing everything dealing with Hollywood. You have some teaching about Christ. There are some who teach Satanism, witchcraft. They talk about the Illuminati. Everything you can find on YouTube. Then there are things that could have been and should have been handled between the parties involved, but now it's being splashed all over social media. Everyone these days has a phone, and if they're not recording you, the government is recording you. Human nature and technology does not mix, because media has given a flawed vessel a platform and power. While sometimes recording an event is necessary and has shown injustices being done in the world, that most of us should see. In my opinion, some of this stuff could have been left where it was, though. But what is most concerning to me is how we are seeing all these pastors doing things that are in direct contrast to what the Bible teaches. And these are people that are supposed to be leading the church. Right. It boggles my mind how many are now teaching against the Bible, teaching that Jesus never existed, and that none of the people in the Bible ever existed, that the book is fictitious. It seems like every time I look up, somebody is coming out against the Bible, and that is scary to me. Why is there so much derogatory stuff out there? It seems like Satan has just taken over the minds of so many, and it terrifies me that now social media has given these people a way to reach the masses. Amen. Let's stop and think about that, though. Wasn't that Satan's plan when he started introducing these things to the world? He knew that his time is winding up on this earth, and he needed to get his message of depravity to as many people as possible, to confuse them, to turn them away from God. But what is crazy to me is that a lot of the people that are speaking out against the Bible was raised in the church and should know the plan and the attack of Satan. But somehow they've allowed themselves to be deceived. However, the scariest part in all of this is that this is what our children are watching. Satan is indoctrinating our children. He is taking away their innocence. He is making immorality okay in their mind. I've had some tell me when I asked them about different things that are going on, and they was like, well, you know, it really don't make that much difference to me anymore. I don't think it's a bad thing. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you not think this is a bad thing? And they're in church. It's not like they're not in church. They're in church. So they're teaching them that all of this mess is okay. And when you see it over and over and over again, you begin to just become desensitized to it. He has taken away their innocence. He's making immorality okay. Then we have so many bishops, pastors, and preachers falling prey to what Satan is offering. Because Satan knows if he can attack the head of these churches, the body will fall. That's why it's so important for us as Christians to always study the Bible for ourselves. Too many people are looking for perfection in an imperfect vessel. And when they see that person that they idolize fall, that leads them astray. The first problem in that situation is that you shouldn't have anybody above God. And if you are idolizing this pastor, this leader, you are serving a false idol.
right.
And that is why it's so easy for Satan to get you to turn against the church. Because you were never a part of the body. You were only following a person. I know that it's probably going to rub some people the wrong way, but if you're truly born again, one person's downfall shouldn't so easily turn you away from your faith.
Go ahead.
None of us are perfect.
Right.
We are going to make some mistakes. There was only one perfect man, and that was Jesus. In Exodus 20:3-5, the first commandment of God says, "Thou shalt not have no other gods before me." The second commandment says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, any likenesses of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth." The third commandment tells us, "Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me." God's first three commandments speaks about not putting anyone or anything above him. Therefore, if you're studying his word and you have a personal relationship with him, then no one can lead you astray. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not giving license to these people who are supposed to be leading the church to do and say anything. But in that, you have to be careful, because in 2 Corinthians 11:13-15, it says, "For such people are false apostles, deceitful workers, masquerading as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then if his servants also masquerade as servants of righteousness. Their end will be what their actions deserve." In Matthew 7:15-20, "Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus by their fruit you will recognize them." We have to be vigilant, church, and not fall victim to these false prophets. They will do enough and say enough to get you hooked. They are always charismatic and have an alluring power. But if you're strong in your word, you will know that not all that they say is biblically sound. False prophets can disguise and hide their bad fruit for a while with ecclesiastical trappings, biblical knowledge, and evangelical vocabulary. They can cover it by belonging to Christian organizations, associating with Christian leaders, and by talking about divine things. But how they talk, act, and react when not in the view of Christians will eventually expose their true loyalty and convictions. What is in the heart will emerge, and corrupt theology will result in a corrupt life. False teaching and perverted living are inseparable and eventually will become manifest. A fruit tree may be beautiful, decorative, and often pleasant shade in the summer, but its primary purpose is to bear fruit. And it is therefore judged by what it produces and not by how it looks. Similarly, a prophet used in this passage of one who speaks for God is judged by his life, not simply by his appearance or his words. A person's basic character, his inner motives, standards, loyalties, attitudes, and ambitions will eventually show through in what he does and how he acts. Occasionally, a good tree may produce a bad piece of fruit, and there that's the human experience. We walk in imperfection. However, overall, this production of fruit is found to be of good quality. But if bad fruit is constantly being produced, the tree is said to be good for nothing. Such too are false prophets. As the bad tree is to be destroyed, so too the false prophets. The text has warned us to be aware that there are many false prophets, men and women, who are out to deceive and mislead you concerning godly matters in relation to your soul. These people care not about you. Instead, their desire is to build their own kingdom, reputation, and legacy. And as Jesus says to us today, beware of this. In John 4:1, beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. Church, we are in a time that the Bible clearly speaks about. Satan knows his time is winding up on this earth, and he is doing everything he can to destroy God's kingdom. Amen. We have to be mindful of these things and watch what we're exposing our children to. Yeah. But not only them, be mindful of what we're exposing ourselves to. Amen. It can be hard not to get caught up in the things we are seeing and hearing because it's presented to us as entertainment. But when you consume too much of the depravity, it starts breaking down your defenses. And you start saying, well, maybe that sin is okay. It's only a little sin. Nowhere in the Bible does God equate little and big sins. Yeah. In God's eyes, a sin is a sin. That's right. Amen. I just stopped by this morning to remind you, we are in the end times, and we have to stay girded in the Lord. Yeah. There is only one way to get to heaven, and that is through our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Be mindful of the false prophets. Be mindful of the people watering down the Bible to make it palpable to the masses. God warned us that this was going to happen, and we're seeing it more and more today. The Bible is the only book that was written that accurately tells us about our past, present, and the future. But it is the most disputed book written. But that was also talked about in the Bible. I just wanted to stop by in this new year and remind you to stay prayed up. Ask for a spirit of discernment so you can recognize the false prophets. Every day, put on your full armor of God and be ready for the battle. Because the battle is coming to you whether you want it or not. In 1 Corinthians 15:58, therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord. Because you know that your labor for the Lord is not in vain. As the music plays, know that there is no higher name than Jesus Christ. And the devil trembles at his name, which is why he always is trying to discredit it. Know who your Savior is, and don't let anyone lead you astray. Let's stay woke, church. The doors of the church is open. You can come by letter, Christian experience, or as a candidate for baptism.
Where everybody's saying the name of God.